two of 10 children to Isaac and Kathleen Hanna of Portland, Acklins, Bahamas. These siblings share memories of their childhood and young adult years, farming, 3-day walks from Portland to Sung Corner Acklins, a father who taught them about God and who had a special way to tell when storms were coming without technology. A time when students finished school at 14 years of age. They were all taught how to cook and sew. Stories about her marriage with practically no courtship, her move to Nassau, and his move to Florida in the days when gasoline was 15 cents a gallon in Florida. Entrepreneurships that led to Hannas Hardware, food store, and meat shop, and about how they became Seventh-Day Adventist. In this episode of Bahamian Heritage Series, 89-year-old Thelma and 83-year-old Gerard Hanna.
Gerard Hanna, born 1941, October 13, Portland, Acklins.
And my name is Thelma Hanna, and I was born in 1935 and in Portland, August 30th. My parents was Isaac and Kathleen. Isaac was a resident of Acklins. He was born on Portland, and my mother was born in Lonky. They used to call it Fortune Island one time ago. He married her and brought her over to Portland, and there they stayed.
Okay, what was your mother's maiden name?
Kathleen Williams.
So you had the same parents?
Same parents.
Do you remember who your grandparents were? On either side or both sides?
I remember my mother's parents. We used to go to her in Lonky and spend time with her sometimes. But I don't remember none of daddy's people. The closest memory of my father's father was when he died. I was only 14 months.
Okay.
But I remember the funeral.
Wow.
Clear as crystal. I don't know how I remember that. When I say it, Mama, they say, shut up, you couldn't remember anything. You was only 14 months. But as I recall, I could have remembered clear as crystal. All these people came on the hill. And I was there, a small little child, couldn't even walk on the rock. And two people was holding my hand and trying to get me walk down where the gravesite was, where they bury him. And I was wondering where all these people come from. And they were dressed in white, most of them. That's the memory that I had. And I told that to her. She said, I couldn't remember anything. But I remember that. And they let me make a couple steps on the rock, and then they carried me. They lifted me up and carried me down to the gravesite because we were on a hill. And they had to go down the hill. Then they rested me down on the ground. I was there standing between all those people looking up at the people while they throwing dirt in the hole on grandfather.
Wow, that must have really made an impression for you to remember.
I don't know how I remember it, but I remember that just like I sit there now, I fancy I could still see the scene. But she told me I couldn't. But then I could tell her the story. That's all I remembered of him. My grandmother on his side died before I was born, several years.
Did you remember his name?
Francis Hanna.
Okay.
I only remember that because we constantly talk about him when they call us.
So that was your father's father?
Yeah.
And you remember your father's mother's name?
Evelina.
Okay.
Evelina. I think she was a tailor here.
But I understand from Daddy that she was a medalist. I don't know how true. But that's what, and I learned that when I was about 50 years old.
Okay, so did you have other siblings?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, what are their names?
You want me to say?
The other siblings, there were 10 of us. There was Emily, Francis,
Mabry,
Muriel, And this one.
No.
Right, and then this one. Thelma, myself, and then there was Joanne, Alice, and Leon.
I'm the seventh child.
Okay. And
But she had one that died in between them. After the three oldest ones. Then they had one that
so you were seventh of the living children?
the seventh of all.
Of all, okay.
Yeah.
There was, let me see, Emmy, Maverick, Francis, Muriel, Roy.
And then me.
That's the
Sixth.
fifth. So that's the sixth.
So yeah, I'm the sixth one besides that one we died.
And then there was some miscarriage between me and her. So I'm 6 years younger than she is.
So how many children would your mother have had if she lost none?
13.
So where exactly did you grow up? In Acklins proper? Okay, which part?
Right there, Portland.
Portland, okay. Portland was up on a hill, I understand.
Yeah.
So do you remember what the house looked like where you grew up?
Oh yeah, we just come from there last
Yesterday.
two days
Yesterday.
ago. Yesterday.
So the house is still standing.
Yeah.
House is still there.
What does it look like? What did it look like then?
Oh, it was
Just-
a mansion then.
At least just like it's looking now. Only thing we put a new roof on it.
Okay, so is it occupied?
No, it isn't occupied, and we never lived nowhere near the residence. We were inland. We were originated more or less from the slaves, and the slaves settled in that area on Portland.
Okay.
And so we ended up there because our father's father was the grandson of the slave trader, the third or fourth generation down, right? And when slavery abolished, they had to go back home. So the sons that they had these little children with the slave trader. And they couldn't take these little half white and half colored children. You know, segregation was high in those days. So they left them with the mothers. And this is how one of them lived with my grandfather, not with my grandfather, the grandfather's father, right? And he lived with him, and he grew up there. And then after he grew into a man, he got married to a lady from Crooked Island and brought her over there.
Okay.
And so it was just us living on the hill, the descendants and the other 2 or 3 old people that lived there. And after a while they died, and their graves are still there. We just cleaned up around them the other day.
Okay.
And then Daddy, when he got married, he decided to live there. The slaves used to do a lot of cattle rearing. They had cows, horses, goats, and all these things. And they had a cotton farm and cascarilla bark and all those things. They had bark fields all through the pastures. And so when Daddy came up and when his father died, he continued to live there. And so all of us grew up there.
Right.
And it was only our family.
Okay. So when you mentioned someone coming from Crooked Island, do you remember the last name of that person?
Crooked Island.
Yeah.
When I was small, a lot of people used to come from Crooked Island.
But you said somebody married someone from Crooked
Yeah,
Island?
that's my grandfather. When he grew up, he got married to a young lady from Crooked Island. The Crooked Island people always used to come to Acklins to work because they say the land was better in Acklins for growing crops. And a lot of them used to come. They used to build little huts in the farm where they worked, and they used to stay there sometimes for several weeks. Plus, we had 2 other houses on the hill. I don't know who built them, it was grandfather or the people built them themselves. But some of them used to live there. And this young lady was with one family that came there. And apparently they used to gather to wash, grandfather and those used to gather to wash and iron and stuff for them while they're there. And after she grew into a young lady, she fell in love with Isaac. That's not Isaac, sorry. Francis was the slave grandson, right? And after a while, they say, now this is things, so they telling me, I don't know nothing about it, but they said that he decided to marry her because she didn't want to go back home with her parents. And all her parents begged her to get ready, let's go, it's time to go. She don't want to go, she want to stay and continue to do the work for them. So after that, he got married to her.
Do you remember what her last name was?
That's what I say now.
I think it was Meadows, I think that he said.
Okay.
He said Meadows, and I thought I heard Taylor.
I know, yeah.
But
there was a couple of names that was thrown out. There was Meadows, there was Taylor, and there was a Moss. Now I don't
The
know.
Moss part sound like
I have to take what Daddy said. He said Meadows. So
okay.
I don't know which one.
I was just curious to see what families mixed, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know which one was right. But then, whatever you choose, who is there to tell us we? Tell us And then
Yes.
he married
to say
her.
otherwise.
He married her, and then they had 10 children.
Okay, so
On the flip side, we all grew up to a certain extent on Portland. But when I was about 6 years old, the eldest sister got married and moved to Sung Corner. And when I was 7, I get dumped on her. Anyway, she had her first son and she wanted somebody to help her when she going to farm and stuff like that. So I was chosen. And I went to live with her in Sung Corner, and I've been up there for 4 years. From 7 years old to 11 years old. And then I came back to Portland.
And then
the whole family basically moved out to Palmy Bay because there was 4 of us to go to school, and there was nobody in Palmy Bay to keep us. But
put a tape right there.
Yeah.
Stick a pin.
we didn't have a family in Palmy Bay, but they didn't like us too much. So Mom decided to move to Palmy Bay with us and take care of us. So we then rented a house from one of the tenants, family member in Palmy Bay, for little or nothing, as the old people used to say. And there we stayed until I was 15 years old. And at 15, I was again uprooted and shipped to Cat Island with my brother, who was then a principal.
So that was Leon now?
No, that was the other brother. That was Pastor Hanna.
Okay.
He was teaching in Cat Island at the time, so I was sent over there so that he could help me to further my education.
Okay.
And from Cat Island, we came back to Nassau, and I stayed here until I decided to go to U.S., which was in 1972.
What was your wife's name?
My wife is from Andros. She was a Roberts. And I don't remember the exact year and date, but I know it was on August Monday when I first saw her. We were on a picnic up at my place in bed. And then after that, we dated and we finally got married, had 4 children. We got married in 63, and by 72 we had 4 children. The oldest one being 6 months old, the youngest one being 6 months old when I left here.
Okay. So you just decided to leave? I mean, what was there a specific opportunity?
It was an opportunity to go over, and things wasn't too good. That was the time when everything was, because I used to do construction work, and construction was basically down to the floor, and there was an opportunity to go. So I didn't care much about going, but my wife wanted it, so we went.
So where did you go? Florida?
Florida, right in Florida.
So how easy was that? Because nowadays you can't just pick up and move to Florida.
No, you had to at that point you had to sign up. You put your name down. They call it a quota, because they took so many in every year. So I had to put my name on the quota, and then they called. At the time when they sent me the letter, I was working, and things were beginning to look pretty good for me. So I was thinking about not going, but my wife said, "Let's go." So we did left. I haven't regretted leaving.
Was it a huge difference getting adjusted to moving from?
Not really, because when I get over there, I had a job already lined up for me, so I didn't have anything to do. And by then, things was cheap. A gasoline, you could buy a gallon of gasoline for 15 cents.
Wow. So where were you all this time? You were still in Acklins, or you had moved to Nassau?
Well, where I must piggyback from.
From where I went to Roy.
So where you went to Roy?
Yeah, because you had already gotten married.
No, but before I got married,
Well, you had finished school in Boston.
yeah,
So you both went to school in Pompey Bay?
yeah. And we both lived with our aunt. Oh, and so we stayed there, and that's the same time my brother made up his mind. We were just about ready for school leaving, because on the island you only go to school till you're 14. You reach the 6th grade.
Right.
That's all we used to reach. And he was there, and that's when he told Mama, look for some place where you could go and put the rest of children to school, because I am now teaching in the school, right? He reached the monitor stage, and they use him as one of the monitors in the school. And when I come out of school, he said, he isn't going to live with Aunt Martha them no more, because they don't want us. Mama said, well, you have to try and make it, because I don't have no place. Well, call, you got plenty of empty houses around, call and ask somebody if you could pay a couple $2 in one of these empty houses and finish. But the other children who coming up behind, that was Joan, Alice, and Leon, right? So because they don't want us. And so Mama asked one lady in the back of where Aunt Martha husband, Uncle A, and we used to call him Uncle Alvin anyway. His son got married, and they were living in Nassau, and his house was empty. So she asked him one time, I don't know if he was out here at that time, or she out there at that time in Acklins for a visit, or she asked Uncle Alvin and those, and they told her, go ahead and clean it up, open it up, live in it. And he said, give me a penny a month. He said, because if you say take it free, family members might fuss. Ain't no money making on island, so, and if you keep it open and keep it clean, it will last much longer than if it's shut up there and nobody using it. And so she was able to rent that. But before they start living there, I had an offer for marriage. And
How old were you?
Married. I was old, and I was 21 when I got married. And I got married, and
And you think that was old?
Yeah.
Back in them days, that was
That's
old.
because children used to marry from 15
Yes.
and 14 and stuff.
So when you say you got an offer for marriage, someone just said they want to marry?
Well,
There was
we
no-
didn't know each other.
Really?
It's
They-
amazing
Not that
when I tell the children my marriage story, they just sit down and say, "Mommy, this sounds like a fairy tale."
So you didn't know the person?
Well, not really. I went to visit my sister in Sung Corner one time. Now, Sung Corner is very far from where we used to live, and it wasn't no good road. You had to walk. It took me and Mama 3 days to get to Sung Corner, but she couldn't walk fast.
Oh, you had to walk for 3 days?
Yeah, it wasn't, no, we didn't walk all one day. It take us 3 days. But we had to walk from inland where we used to live. It was about an hour and some minutes.
About 2.5 hours from home.
No. We
It
used to
was
walk
7
it.
miles.
We used to walk it in an hour and a half.
Yeah, we.
Because we could have walked fast.
But Mama
Mama
couldn't.
would have take 2 hours. Because she had to rest along the way. She couldn't walk. She come from Fortune Island where my grandparents lived. That's where she was. And they didn't have that kind of rocky walk like how we had over in Acklins. It was more flat, sandy like key. Well, anyhow, we decided to go up and visit Emmy. You know, he told you that she married someone, but he was shipped to go to his early schooling, and she wanted to go and visit Emmy. So we leave Portland, walk to Pompey Bay. That was the place where our aunts used to live. The first day, and we slept with uncle of ours,
Uncle-in-law.
Uncle, what do you name, Ossie. His wife was my daddy's sister. She had 2 children. And after she had the last one, she died. And he remarried a lady from Spring Point, right? And they used to live there. Her and Mama was close. And so Mama used to live there when she come out to Pompey Bay.
From Point.
Yeah.
That's 3.
We walked out to Pompey Bay, slept with Uncle Ossie and his wife. Next morning we got up early and we went on to Spring Point and we slept there for the night. And the next morning we got early and we went to Sung Corner and Mason Bay.
So there was no transportation back in those days?
Except we go
The
by
only transportation was boat or horse. That's all the transportation.
So other than that, you
And
walked
wasn't
everywhere?
And you wouldn't get Mama on no horse.
No. Because when she married Daddy had to bring her from Ashton Key, where the boat came into a place called Ashton Key, and ride her through the farmland up to Portland on a horse. And I hear she fell off on the way. She had her face fall over the horse on the way up, the bride fall off the horse. Reached my sister and we spent a week there with her. And during that week, we had church on a Sunday. And
So you weren't a Seventh-Day Adventist?
no, none of us. We grew up Anglicans. So I went to church, and after church, they had evening service to another church. And a friend of mine that lived with them, we made friends while we were there because we were the same age and what. And she wanted me to go with her to Sung Corner Church. We live in Mason Bay, but the two settlements is just like this. There's hardly any division between them. And so I went with her to the Baptist afternoon service, and after the service out, she was introducing me to all these people and all these young men and all these young ladies, and because I had plenty of people on Sung Corner and a whole lot of people, and this was summertime when all the recruits, people used to go on the recruit, they used to call it.
On contract.
on the contract to work, and now they all come home. And that must be where he saw me, I guess, but I didn't remember him. And so we went back home, and after a while, I received this letter from this young man. His name was Frank. And he was telling me something about his mother and him, and he hoped I remember them and whatnot. I didn't remember nothing about them. But you know, God always have a way of bringing people together, and his way is sometimes a past finding out, right? And so it happened so that the same week that I got the letter, I didn't know who it was, and Mama even didn't remember them. She put the letter on it. She asked me who the letter from. This time, because you know, plenty of people was writing the house, and I used to throw the letter there because some of them were saying, "Marry that one." I would marry that.
So that's what they did back then. They used to write a letter,
right, yeah,
and they addressed the letter to you or to your parents.
Well, they would write the girl first, and then if the girl
agree,
they would write the house, and then the parents have to give them consent. So the parents will answer the letter if they're not there. And if they are on the island, they would come and talk with the father. And so the same weekend, Emmy came down from Sung Corner to spend 2 weeks with Mama. And she said, Telly, no boys calling the house yet? So Mama said, Telly just have so many boys caught right in the house. He can get so many letters, and she throwing them aside, right? So one just right here this week, and she put the letter there, so she don't know who that is. And Mama said, and I read it, and I didn't know who it is either. So Emmy said, where the letter is. So it says, sit on the table, you could read it. So she read it, just when she can read it, she said, oh, Telly, answer that one. That's a very nice boy, and he is from where I am. Saying, I know the family very well. That's my good friend. Say, and the boy is very nice. Say, answer his letter, man. And she encouraged me so nice. And so, with the niceness of her thought, I answered the letter, and looked like he was only waiting for an answer. The next week he wrote again, and he wrote the house. I don't know if he could get engaged.
So how did you get the letter? How did it come to you?
It come through the mail. The letters come from Nassau. They had a mail boat that delivers all the islanders' letters, right? In Nassau, and then from Nassau they forward it to the islands. Each island had a mail boat that goes to
It goes to the island.
it goes to Nassau.
We had from Nassau. From Nassau, the letters was picked up. Any letter from Florida, because that's where they were on the contract. Any letters from Florida would come to Nassau. Then in the post office in Nassau, they would divide it and separate to the different islands. And then they have mail boats that carry not only letters but passengers and.
Right. So where was he living?
He was
on the
at
same
time-
island.
Okay.
But he lived far up on the eastern side of
So now, when he wrote the letter, he
was
put
on
it in the
contract.
post.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was
on
over.
contract.
He was in
Oh, okay,
Florida on
right.
the contract.
Okay. So but he saw you because he was home.
He was home when I tell you we
Right.
visited the churches. And I was like 14, going on 15 at that time. But I didn't remember him. I didn't remember knowing.
So how long was it between when you went to visit before you got the letter, the first
It
letter?
was about 4 years, 3 years, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I think it was 18 when I got the letter.
So he waited all them years to write the
Well, he
letter.
wasn't that old either. He just was trying to play man before time. We born the same age, the same year. After he died, I get to find out that I was 9 days older than him. I born in August and he born in September.
So he went to the contract in between all of this.
Yeah.
And then he came back from the contract and then you all got married?
We married in Nassau. He came back and forth. I saw him for the first time when I was like 19.
So this was after you decided you would marry him is when you saw him?
After he wrote and asked to get engaged, yeah.
So you got engaged to someone you'd never seen?
Yeah, never seen after. I never seen. Maybe I did see him when my friend was introducing, but I didn't know him.
Yeah, you didn't remember that. But he was, I mean, obviously you got a good rapport. People told you about him and they said he came from a nice family and I guess his letters was nice enough.
Yeah. And then his parents wanted to see me and so Mom and Daddy had asked Uncle Curtis to take us up there in the boat that time and we went and we visited his parents. And you know, them old time people like to know who the son getting married to and who the daughter getting married to. And so we meet his parents and she must be thought that I satisfied her looks or thoughts or something. I know what.
Yes, they approved.
Yeah. And so the next year, which was my 20th year, I think it was 20th, when I was 20, he write and send us. And in those days, the men go on the contract and the ladies who they are married, they just buy the stuff for them because they know ain't no money making on the island. You don't know the farm and you can't buy things married with potato and corn and peas.
You could always exchange them for money.
But you didn't have no money to exchange them for. So he sent and asked for my size and shoes and he would like to marry me the next year when he come out. So we sent the size and whatnot and he bought the stuff. And the next year his family was moving to Nassau for good. And so they wanted me to come that way to get married. And so Mama them tried to see if they could get enough money. My father used to do lingawaiti and we used to beat bark and whatnot. And you get, like now is a fortune making off a bark, right? But then you only used to get like shilling a pound. And 2 and 6 it raised to, and lingawaiti was how much a stick.
Yeah,
So
much go by the cord.
Yeah.
So much a cord.
They tried to get enough money to save up to pay the passage on the boat. And we went to Nassau and that's where we got married.
And Mama.
Huh?
Only you and Mama.
Me and Mama and Muriel. Muriel was in my room.
Oh yeah, Muriel was there.
And Mabry was with Roy.
Yeah.
So they came back to Nassau. They were in Andros at that time.
So when you all met, did you all date? Like, was he allowed to take you out or anything?
Not in those days. People never used to send the girls out.
So you just met him?
In those days, you meet and you go congregate right where the parents are. Like they in the kitchen and we'll be in the house. They give us privacy where we can sit and talk by ourselves. But they are right in the kitchen. If you're going anywhere, they going too. But it wasn't hardly nowhere to go on the island. And then the houses were scattered. Very few houses was really close to each other. So if you going to church, they can walk, and they always would give you a space. They want you walk in front. They want you walk in the back. And you go to church. if you're going to visit anybody, they'll go together and whatnot. And so that's how that was.
So then you came to Nassau and you all got married. So you stayed in Nassau after you got married?
Yeah.
So you both lived here after that?
He had a little house in his parents' yard. So I understood that, on the contract, the people used to make you send so much money home to your parents. And so she saved up the money and she bought him a lot. And she bought him and the next brother a lot too. And she built a little house. His father was a carpenter. And he got to do a lot of work himself. So they built a little wooden house. And her house was a wooden house too, on the same land that he got.
Where was that?
Right off Lincoln Boulevard. I don't know if you know where that is.
I know where that is.
Yeah. And Lincoln Boulevard and Pololio Street, in between there. And so after we got married, we lived in the little house on the side, which she said was Frank's house. And we've been there for 1 year. 1 year? Oh, 2 years. And then we built our house on East Street and the Grove. Hannas had that was our home. We had a wooden house in the back. And after a while, we built this stone structure. And then the family opened hardware on the bottom. All my father-in-law, mother-in-law, him and the other two brothers, we all combined in there. And we ran that store for a while. And then after they got married and they started having children too, they had a little conference session and decided that we also had a food store at that time. I don't know if you remember the food store in Nassau. We had a food store on Cordo Avenue.
Okay. What was the name of it? Hannas?
Hannas Food Store. And they decided that food store can't serve all of us, right? Because by then I had 4 children. And then they began to have children, and my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and all the wives and the 3 brothers said that we can't make it on that. And so they decided to separate and each one do their own business. And so what they did a, what do you call the thing when they're trying to value what's the cost of the store? First they did it on the food store. And everybody got a share. And if one brother wanted to keep the food store, that will be, his share will be in the food store. The other 2 came out and do their own thing. Mom and the father and mother would help wherever they want help. They didn't, wasn't too particular.
Appraisal, yes.
Oh yeah, appraisal. And then after a while, we had so many children and their children and everything, and the hardware, the structure was ours because me and my husband built that. Right? But the stuff inside was everybody owned. So they did an appraisal on the inside. And the other 2 brothers, by now my father-in-law had died. And so it was mother-in-law and us and the other 2 brothers, and they did an appraisal of the stuff. And the other brother opened up a meat shop. And the second brother went further down and he opened up another hardware. And so we were the owners of the main hardware because that was our building. We had nowhere to go.
You have a lot of entrepreneurship in your family. Everybody did their own business.
And so we lived there until we moved. We decided we want to move out from upstairs and come further, and that's when we built this house. And we lived here from then on.
How old are you now?
89.
Wow. You look very good. And you are...
83, I'll be 83 in 10 days.
Wow. That must be that good island fresh air all them years you was growing up in. Wow.
Probably. I would say the blessing of the Lord.
That for sure.
I think we were experiencing the blessing of the Lord from very young age.
From then. Yeah.
Right. And Dad used to teach us about the Lord. I could remember many days we used to sit out on the rocks, like when we finished supper and they got nice pretty moonlight, sit outside and look in the sky and study the stars and the moon. He used to show us then some stars. He said the 7 sisters, and he showed us something. He said the evening star. And in the morning, he showed us this bright star that was the morning star. And then he would tell us how the sun and moon is crossed and whatnot, sometimes once every so many years. And, you know, even in storm, when storm coming, he used to know when storm coming. But how they used to detect it, they used to fill a bottle put some water in the bottle, tie the jar down in the one that they had there with the water. And he said, if you see the water rise in that bottle, storm coming, and it's a dangerous storm. Ordinarily rainfall and stuff don't fall in. I don't know how it used to work, but they say it used to work.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so we used to kind of figure that out. And another thing they used to do is look in the sky at the movements of the clouds. It said when you see the cloud racing across the sky from a certain direction, a storm is building up some way in that area. And if it's going slow and ordinary, it's okay. If you're having a gush, you can tell the difference between the gush and the real bad hurricane weather and whatnot by just watching the clouds and stuff, how they blow and the wind.
Unfortunately, we didn't learn that.
Good job.
Oh, you left Daddy too young.
Don't blame.
And then I used to like to travel with my dad anyway and talk. I was a good talker. I used to ask him a lot of questions and whatnot. And he used to carry me in different places, all about in the fields, across on the south side. I remember one time he carried me to Guinea. Trust me, I believe that was a day he would regret, because he used to have to partly lift me up. I was small, and he was going to Guinea, and he couldn't stand to see me cry. And every time he could leave me, I'd start crying. And say, okay, come, darling, come. Carry me behind him. This day he was going to Guinea. And
what is Guinea?
That's a far place from where, I tell you, we live inland. We live like in the center of the island. And he used to carry me out on the southern side. The southern side of Acklins is ocean. And they have a lot of reefs out there and a lot of cliffs along the seashore. And to get to Guinea, we couldn't walk the bay. You had to walk. Sometimes you go down on the bay for a certain distance, and then you have to go back up in the cliffs and walk and go back down on in the bay. And this is what you have to tell you, reach up there. That's where we used to get a lot of silver top.
Okay.
And he used to do a lot of plaiting, and he used to sew the saroons, we used to call them, for the horses. You know, these things they throw across the horseback and you pull the two sides. And he used to sew them, and he used to sew mats for people. He had the frame on the wall where he could do the saroon, and he had a frame to do mat. And he used to plait rope. We used to do sisal and stuff, and soak the sisal, clean it off, and then he had I forget what we used to call it now, but anyhow, it was a cart they built out of wood that you can connect the ropes on, and another piece on this side that you tie it to. and you tie the handles on this side and the rope twines, and you keep joining the string in. So as you twine it, you get somebody putting in the strings when they get in short, like when you do pluck, and tie it until you can do the whole thing. And people used to get them to make ropes for the horses. And so we go to Guinea to get these silver top to pluck, to do the mats and the baskets, and we used to do hats and stuff, to learn how to do the all-in-one hat. You started with 2 string, make the bottom, turn it, and get the crown, and then you flam it and get the rim, stop it, trim it up, and dress it with the sisal. We dye the sisal and decorate the hat. And people used to buy them. We used to decorate the baskets with it as well.
Wow. So that when you say that the top, that it looks almost like it's a green plant with leaves that flare out.
And the top peeled up. And when they shoot,
wasn't there a portion of that could be eaten?
Yeah, the heart.
Yeah.
If you eat the heart, you kill the tree.
Oh wow.
But there were some people who used to, like on the western side of the island, you could hardly find top down that way because they used to eat the heart of the top. But Guinea was more or less up on.
So Guinea is a part of Acklins.
Yeah.
Guinea Acklins.
It was a place. It was just a place where a lot of silver top.
And nobody lived there like that.
We used to have to walk from the house to the south side. It was about 3 miles, and then it was about another 3 miles to go up there to get to this area.
Boy, you all got a lot of exercise, all that walking.
Yeah. And so we, but that was a way of life. But apart from farming, we plot the plots and sew the baskets and dress them up nice and good. And that was something that we could get all little pennies from to be able to buy. We lived.
So who would you sell them to?
The people right in Bombay Bay, they used to buy them because people couldn't afford much of these other type of stuff. So I remember making baskets for a couple of my schoolmates when I was going to school. We sewed them, we put a piece in the middle so they could be about that thick and about that tall, and we put a strap across and set on your shoulder and dress the cover up. They have a cover that you can pull down and tie, keep your book from falling out. And we were good to go. Kind of school with our baskets.
So basically you were self-sustaining. I mean, you were able to, your parents farmed so that you ate the food that you...
All of us farmed.
All of you, okay.
We used to go in the field from the time I was 3 years old. I was holding a cutlass.
Wow.
Yeah, because when they got in the field, they carry everybody in the field. They used to leave one person home to cook, one of the older ones, to cook and tote water and whatnot. And the rest go in the field. Well, of course, the little children want to go in the field. That's fun. So they never stay home to help the one who's home unless they're sick. And everybody have a cutlass, so I wanted my cutlass too. So Daddy used the cutlass would break. He would break it, fix it short, put a little handle on it, and that was for us small children who want cutlass. And so from small age, we used to have our cutlass and helping to pull bush and to weed and whatnot, whatever we could do. We used to stay right alongside Mama so she made sure we don't look like we doing some dangerous to hurt yourself. One time I did something dangerous to hurt myself, though, and he wasn't there. He was there? No, he wasn't there. I know he was running. And we were in the field. We had the old lady that we used to stay with, Uncle Ossie's wife, when we go to Pompey Bay. She used to come over there to work too, because she was part of at least the family, I would say. And she was old now when we were growing up, like 13, 14. No, not 13, say about 12. And every day, every year, Mama used to want us to go in the field with her. to help her weed her field. At least give her a day, right? So we were in her field weeding, and I was getting tired. Time to go home. And Mama said, but come, let us weed this little piece out. Come. Auntie Vina, the street is nice, you know, and she'll be happy to see how much we weed in her field when she come back. Say, let's weed this piece out. I want to go home, time to go home, and I keep chopping on this stump. And she keep encouraging me to continue to weed. And all of a sudden, the stump where I was chopping, the piece flare out, and the cutlass came down and stick me right in my, the little mark must be still here.
Oh, wow.
Stick right in my knee on the side. And Mama saying, no, you see, and her word was, for God's sake, you see what you did? And it's good for you. If you would read that shouldn't have happened. But while she's saying that, she's tearing off her cloth, what she was waving sweat with and binding up my knee and stuff. And well, then I could rest a little bit. She ain't around me no more. and then we get ready and we went home. And I had the little mark. I think the little mark still on the side of my knee, but you can't see it too good now.
So you didn't have a nurse? A nurse was on the island back in the day?
Very seldom, once in a while.
There was a nurse on the island.
Not living, not constantly.
Not in Spring Point.
He used to come over to Nassau. He used to come over to the island like every so many months. And they would come over, or a doctor make them over.
So what happened if something bad, if someone had a serious incident or accident?
You dead?
You died?
There was no hospital or no clinic?
Oh, no.
But there was
how about when you had children? Did they,
I had
no midwife?
I had no children at all.
No, I mean like your mother.
Oh, yeah, they had a midwife, and the midwife who could do the children was would come and stay with you for like a month or two. They stayed a long time.
When it was almost time to deliver.
They come like a couple of weeks before delivery.
Okay.
And they stayed until the mommy is strong enough to handle herself, do her own cooking, and tend to the own baby and wash the clothes and whatnot.
So they came from Nassau?
No, they had these midwives who may be trained, and no, I think the one that Mama used to have must be trained right on the island from other midwives who may be trained in Nassau.
So they weren't full nurses. They
had some nurses that got training from Nassau and came to the island. They were islanders, but they get some training in midwifery from Nassau. I think the island ones got it from them. Or otherwise, they got it from...
handed down from generation to generation.
Yeah, they take care of, and like Mama said, she always say that if Miss Cooper was her title, didn't know about how to do with the babies when they were born. The other son would died after, but would not have died because all he did, he got some of the fluid in his lung area. And she didn't know what to do to get him cleared up. And so that's why he died. So she had to stand up and watch him through his last couple little breaths.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Island life. So once you both left Acklins, you never really went back to live?
No, I didn't go back to live.
What about your parents? Did they stay there?
They stayed there until 1973.
That's independence.
They moved here to Nassau.
Yeah, because nobody was there on the plantation now, and it was only them. Even the two old people that they get the house from to put the last children to school, they died. And there was hardly anybody left on Pompey Bay.
But
And so
what she didn't tell you was that if you were Isaac Hanna, Kathleen Hanna children,
You do that.
it didn't matter whether he was boy or girl, you learned to do everything. You learned to cook, you learned to wash, you learned to sew. When I say sew, like if you got a hole in the pants, you could know how to put a patch over it. And every one of the girls was a seamstress. She was a seamstress. She used to do dresses. I could remember her making shirts for me out of flower bag.
Ah,
And then,
I remember that.
yeah, I remember that.
So did they have a sewing machine, or you did everything by hand?
Mama
Sewing
had a
machine,
sewing
that the one that you turn it.
I know.
So she made all your clothes?
When we were little, she used to basically, there were very few things that she bought. And she used to sew. She used to buy the material, like the blue denim and stuff, and what they used to call chambray, blue chambray and stuff. Make shirts, make little pants for the boys, little dress for the girls. And she
Mama was a
taught
seamstress, so she
every
did all-
one of her daughters to sew. This one, I don't know, but she didn't like it.
No, I didn't like it. I didn't have no time to do it.
No, I
Because
didn't.
I had too many children to tend
Even
to.
before you had children, you didn't like to sew.
I didn't like to. Not really. But I used to sew all the clothes for the children. all the
Every
shirts and
one
the
of us
skirts.
were independent as far as taking care of yourself is concerned.
I sew skirts and shirts and blouses. I didn't buy their clothes like that. Now I buy the pants because I wasn't into sewing pants. But I sew all of the skirts and the blouses and the shirts for the boys. I sew them. If it's a white shirt they wear, I buy the white shirt because it was cheaper to buy the white shirt than it was to sew it. Because white shirt only used to cost a little
Yeah, we
money.
do nowadays.
But then you have to buy the material and then thread and everything and buttons to sew the shirt. In the end, it's better you buy it.
So everybody cooked as well.
Everybody
Yeah.
learned to cook.
Everybody could have do their own thing. He could have sewed dress, I guess.
No, I never saw that. I used to have the all white, but no.
But he kept okay. But he could have sewn his pants. Now my second sister could have sewn pants. My uncle, when I used to live with, when I say his wife didn't like us, he was a tailor. And he taught my older sister how to sew the pants. And he wanted to teach me too, but I didn't go online.
Wow.
And he said, Telly, you can need this later, you know, you might need this. Then I can try to show you how to do this. But I didn't have no mind to learn how to sew pants.
So when did you become Seventh-Day Adventist? In Nassau or?
After our brother went to Andros, after I was married, my brother was already in Andros when I got married. No, not Carolina yet.
No, that's where he contacted the Adventist first.
Oh yeah, that's when he contacted the Adventist church. But he was in the Andros when I got married, and then after we got married, the government switched him to Cat Island, and that's when he met his wife. She was from Cat Island. That's when he got the message, and he became an Adventist and gave up the government school because they was fussing him because he tell them that after he became an Adventist, he tell them that when they come over, they must collect the keys from the head person who just look after the school in the islands. What do you used to call them?
Principal?
When the teachers go to teach, they have some people from the island who would just be working along. They don't teach, but they be along with the teacher and see that everything go right and
Right,
the
the
children
justice of the peace. Or
behaving and all those things. They visit the school every couple of days and may say something to the children and tell them to behave and whatnot. And so he and government used to send representatives sometimes to do certain things in the school and they always do it on weekends, right? And now weekends, if he become an Adventist, he is in church. So he tell them he wouldn't be there, but they can collect the key from the person next in charge when the teacher doesn't have school. And they would go like that. Well, government wasn't too pleased with that because they want the teacher to be there, to have his say in the meetings that they have it. And so that was becoming a problem, and so he resigned from the teaching, and he went fully into the church, and the church was happy for him because that he had the potential to be another pastor. So they sent him to Jamaica to get to go to school. They had finished his education in theology, and when he came back home, they wanted to set him up at a church, and he wanted to come back to Acklins because he knew his mommy and his dad was still up here, and some of his younger brothers was still here, and was still there, I say here. And you say that when he came, no, it's Joanne would tell me this the other day, that when Roy came up there, they were already partly Adventists, because they used to study Armstrong books and different things and compare it with the Bible, and they see where this Anglican church was out of the reach. They wasn't they wasn't coinciding with the Bible, and so they decided that they ain't going back to the Anglican church because they're leading them wrong. And so when she was just reminding me of that the other day while we all were in Acklins. So when Sunday came and everybody getting ready for church, Mama getting ready for church, Daddy getting ready, and she see they ain't getting ready. So you all in a hurry up. If you all don't hurry up, we could be late. So they tell her they ain't going back to the Anglican church because according to this book and the Bible, it don't make sense we go back to Anglican church. We ain't going. That's the two last sisters and the last brother, right? So they sit. And then after a while, this is when Roy came up, and Roy finished talk with them and whatnot, and call down here and tell them by then they had like phone and stuff, and tell them that they were ready for baptism. So eventually the conference sent a pastor up, and they were baptized into the Seventh-Day Adventist Church. Well, they were baptized, and after a while they came down to Nassau, and they lived, and then Roy and my second sister, Mabry, she wasn't married. She used to go along with Roy, keep his house clean, iron his clothes, keep him looking fit, and then she was a seamstress, so she sewed while she there with him. And so they came down, and by now we had another house built in our yard to Nassau, and they rented it from us right on the side. And so she was there, and she used to take my younger children to Sabbath school, like the three oldest one, Dave, the make.
Well, maybe Philip came in later. I know about the tree. They invited me and Thelma.
You don't remember? Philip might have been a
Philip
baby.
was a little baby.
Well, she used to take them to Sabbath school, and that's where the Sabbath thought began to come in. And then after a while, Joanne them came down, and Mama came down, because when they left, then Mama and Daddy would have been left there. So we wanted, Mama said she ain't coming to live with no children. So she'll come to live to Nassau if she have her own house. So So my older brother, Francis, he named after my grandfather, Francis. He was stateside, and he married a lady over there. So he eventually stayed over there. But he heard what they said. So Roy was about to buy a lot to build a house, right? Because now they brought him back in Nassau and he wanted a home. So Francis told Roy, instead of buying the lot, he must use the lot he had in Nassau.
Francis
Because he had a couple of lots,
Francis
right?
had 3 lots.
Yeah.
He had one in Chippenham, the one up there on Soldier Road,
Yeah.
by the graveyard.
And that's the one he tell him. The
Tell him.
money he
So
was to use to buy a lot,
He told him to
use it to build a house there
take
for Mom and Daddy.
he gave him the one in Chippenham and said the money what he would have paid for it, use it and build a house on the one up here on Soldier Road for Mom and Dad.
And so he did that, and several of us who could have afforded ended up helping to build a house. And the Mom and Daddy came down, and then they had a place to stay all by themselves, and they were happy. And when the other people come around who didn't have a house, like maybe we went and lived with them, and any other family members who come, they could have lived with them because the house had 2 bedrooms and the front room kitchen, and it was a big lot from road to road.
Right.
So they had that. He had place he could have farmed, and he did a lot of little farming. He used to do his, so he didn't miss much. Plenty fruit trees he had on the land, and he used to grow a lot of other vegetables and stuff.
So they both died in Nassau?
Yeah,
They were buried here too, or?
Yeah, they were buried up here in
in Old Train.
Old Train.
Okay. Do you remember how old they were when they died?
I think Daddy was 86, and I think Mom was all the same
It
thing.
was about the same thing
When she died, because he was 11 years older than Mama. And so after he died, Mom lived until she was about 86, 87.
So
She died.
in the final end, everybody became Adventists?
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Oh no, the 2 oldest one. My older
Andy.
brother believed the message.
Francis and Amy, the 2 that were in stateside.
He didn't like the idea of me being Adventist because that means I ain't coming to the Baptist church. And so he wasn't, mind you, before I began to talk Adventism, he used to go to church. He'd go there once in a blue moon, every other time, and sometimes he spend most of his time outside talking to other people who don't go to church and sit down. And when I go to church with all my children, I could remember because I had a set of triplets. I go to church, I'll get all those children ready and I put them on the bus, and who can't go on the bus, I will carry them when I go in. And when I reached the church, when I had them, I had to carry 2 people with me. I hold one, the baby, and the other 2. But I had a lot of little teenage friends used to come around, and they used to help hold the babies. So each one of them would hold one, I would hold one. And the other children could sit in the same pew, so I need a whole pew for myself. My husband could stay outside. He ain't coming inside to sleep with us. So I had to carry people.
What was his name, you said?
Frank.
Okay.
He have his name. When he had a first child, I was to name him Frank. No?
But wait a minute. His last name was also Hanna?
Yeah.
No.
I was a Hanna and he was a Hanna.
No.
So you didn't marry, so you married Hanna. Interesting.
We couldn't find, because the priest even they know Marius. He tells the mom and dad, you sure these children ain't family? They're from the same island, have the same title, so he had to make his research. And he couldn't find no record of us being related. And so he got married. I guess.
But that is, my dad told me, because we asked him a question. And he said there were the original Hannas who were the slave masters, and there were the borrowed Hannas, the slaves who adopted the Hanna name.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So those the Hannas from that area where in Sung Corner were the ones with an adopted Hanna's name, so they don't know who this is.
Right.
But at least we are from the slave. We are the fourth or the fifth generation from the slave trader.
Right.
And that's why we all lived on Portland in that strip.
The Hanna family's legacy is intertwined with the history of Acklins, Bahamas, and the family continues to preserve the heritage, the land, and the stories that they are so very proud of in Portland. The legacy lives on.